we made in class the other day. This is similar to the part that we made in class the other day, and I wanted to just take a look at running this part in a two setup situation. This is what we drew. I didn't save it, which was my fault. I tell you guys all the time, save often. I'm just going to do that right now. And so a couple things that I wanted to talk about while we were sitting here in Inventor, and then immediately after I do this one, I'm going to go ahead and upload one in Fusion so you can see kind of the differences in some of these things. If you're having problems with your program on its own, just the 3D software running fast enough, just using Inventor altogether, if you would go in to add-ins or under tools, so go in here and bring up this add-in manager and start just getting rid of some of the stuff that you don't need, because we got bill of materials, simplify, content, all of those things are going on. You've got some electrical diagrams, cables and harnesses, tubes and pipes. You don't need any of those things going on. Also, if you don't have the CAM tab, it may be because of this section right here. So if Inventor HSM is not loaded automatically, you're going to have a problem there. That might help you out for some of you guys who have had some problems getting that going. Additive manufacturing, so that's for our 3D printing. If I don't want that on there, I can just pull it off and I gotta leave it on. It will affect how fast it loads up, and so you can turn those things off and on as you go. So I started this part on side one, and I'm gonna flip it around and flip it over. There's my front. I'm gonna do some rotation on this thing, get it back to where I can see it. This is the back side, bottom side of this part. This is the first way that we would make this part. So I did a little bit of work on my face mill just because I was not loving what was going on. And then I did an adaptive with the face mill, milling around the outside of it. Finished the face mill and did the chamfer with a 3/4 spot drill. So setup one, if you notice, this is what I want you guys to start doing when you're working on multiple setups for one part. This way we're able to keep all of our processes in one kind of continuous flow, so we're not saving them in multiple spots. So setup one is going to run like this. So right now I've got, it's showing my stock, milling around the outside of it, rough pass around the outside. Need to do a little bit of work there. Second step. Now, our 2-inch face mill can actually take a 600,000ths depth of cut. So if I didn't like the step down on this is making a lot of steps to go around this outside part. I can do some changing in that. Same thing here. I don't necessarily want to do all of those pieces and components, or I might want to control how far down I go with this thing. So I face milled it, milled around the outside. I came back with my center drill spot drill and milled around that contour. So if I don't want my stock to be seen, I can turn stock off or on and close this out, go back in. I was pretty happy with the face mill, and I'll show you some of the things that I did with it. Some of these things are stuff that we had talked about in class. I did use chip thinning. I'm allowing it to go both ways because in face milling it really doesn't make a difference as to where I go and what I do. I only wanted it to cut this top section down, so I put my bottom height down here at 0 so that it's just milling down here in this section. Got that taken care of. That's my face mill. I can definitely do some stuff with my feeds and speeds on the face mill, but I'm not really concerned so much about the face mill itself on this. It's the adaptive face mill that I want to do some work with. So as you can see, adaptive face mill is going down further than what I want it to. So I'm going to go back into here, go into my planes. I got my clearance height, my retract height, and my top part of the top of my part, bottom height. And so I can come up here. I've already got it set at the bottom of the model. So I can come up, let's go 375 up, and look at that moving it up in there. And that brings it so that, maybe I'll let it go down just a little bit below it. So I actually want to mill on past that just a little bit in case I got some corner radius, and so let's maybe go 305. Actually, I would struggle with 305. So I'm going to go down 300. Now, as long as that clears for my pocket, I'm really good. So I've got this area all cleared out. I've got enough milled down so that I don't have to worry about any kind of corner radius. What I don't want to end up with, I don't want to put it at, say, 385. That actually won't come all the way down. Even at 375, I'm going to run into a problem because I got a little bit of corner radius in my insert for my 2-inch shell mill. Now, by coming down just a little bit more, I am taking a deeper cut, but I'm making sure that I've cleared out all of those radiuses, anything else that might be getting in my way. So I've changed that, and then I don't really need to leave. Oh, actually, I do want to leave some stock on that. Probably 20 thousandths is going to be a little bit much, so we'll change both of those. And I'm okay with flat detection. Doesn't really matter for this where we're at. I don't really need to take a lot of steps as I go down because I can make this all in one shot. So I can actually put that all the way down to 600. I don't want my last pass to be, or I don't want to make passes that are going to just take really small amounts. I want to try and maximize my machining. Not sure that I'm going to be in love with this, but I'm going to go ahead and machine cavities does not need to be on. We do want to try and climb mill on this part. Let's see what it looks like now. Now we've got a much smoother pattern going around it. We're just going one move. All right, so let's just run that self by itself. Okay, now is that a big pass? Yeah, it's a pretty decent pass for what we got going on, but essentially we're really just cutting four corners out of this piece. So we're really not really taking that much. It is heavy depth of cut, or I mean long down the side of the insert, so we're talking about a little over 3/8 of the insert. It's not a problem for what we're doing. Okay. Here's our 1/2-inch finishing end mill, 2 flute, and then our 3/4 spot drill. And so let's just quickly run through this one more time. Okay, looks pretty decent on that one. Not leaving as much stock. Now, if I want to, I don't want to look at. So, a problem that we had the other day when we were working on milling around the outside, we had some cutter comp issues. So, I want to talk just a little bit about passes in this in this tab. So, as we come in through here. Our tolerance is default at 4/10, which is really tight. Now, as I change that to 1 thou, that's not going to change really the way that my part runs. It will, if I was working on some critical areas, yeah, it would change some stuff. But when we're talking about 1 thou, it's fine. So look at how, if you look at how the animation jumps up. Having small arcs inside of there or segments in there is not going to cause us any kind of problem. All right, so here's what I really want to talk about was compensation type. There's a couple of different ways to do compensation, and I know if you guys have been watching the Titans of CNC videos, which is super helpful, he's got a different way of doing it. Now, if we choose in computer, we're not going to really get so much of a G41 cutter compensation. If we choose in control, we're going to get a G41 and a D. Now, another way to go is where. If we go where, then we need to make sure that we set our cutter compensation on the machine at the tool library to 0, and then only control it by where. So the idea is brand new end mill programmed this way is going to everything will be set at 0 for the diameter or the radius of the tool, which is really different from the way that we would hand program. Normally we would hand program and we'd go ahead and place, if we were using a 1/4 inch end mill, or if we're using 1/2 inch end mill in this case, we would go in and put 1/2 inch for the diameter or 1/4 inch for the radius, 0 for wear. And here it's going to be a little bit different. So you got to know the ins and outs and some of the backstory behind this. And so if we go in control, then we can kind of work more in a normal pattern. So if we go in control, then that means in our diameter or radius on the machine, when we go into offsets, we're going to have to go ahead and put in the diameter of that. And these little animation pop-ups help you a lot as far as going through there. You can make sharp corners. You can do multiple finish passes if you want, if you're worried about deflection. You can do kind of a spring pass or a multiple finish pass. You can do some overlapping, leading in and leading out, and how you're going to rough, multiple depths for step down, and there's just a lot of stuff that's going on that is super beneficial for you. So if I do mine in control, and this is going to be how I'm going to leave it, it's this tool, and I can probably come in here and do it with this tool too. And so go into passes, and we can go in control. Nope. So here we'll leave it as in computer, and we won't have to bother with that. I guess if we want to make it for wear, that way we can adjust it. Leaving it as in computer leaves us no room for adjustment there. Anytime we have to make any kind of adjustments on this tool, we have to adjust it by the Z value, or we have to come back to the cam and then rewrite it. So we'll leave that one alone from there. And so I did change that to where. Change this one to in control. This is just roughing. I don't really care about that. This is face milling. I definitely don't care about that. So setup 2 is in the same thing. If you'll notice, when I drew it upside down. And so I was really disappointed in that. I was doing a couple of different things, and I was not paying attention to what I was doing. But since Inventor is pretty awesome about letting us do some flexible things in our program, we were able to come in and do some changes there. So I changed my startup on my part, did a little bit of rotation, so I'll come back into here. And so I switched my orientation to it's the middle of the part. So I can really what I want to do when I set this part up, I want to swing the pocket of my soft jaws and then drop my part in, and then I can either do a Z off of the bottom of the part or the Z off the top of the part. Probably, I don't know, I could kind of see going either way on this one, top of the part or bottom of the part. It really kind of depends on what I'm going to do. So if I wanted to move that, I'll move it down in here. So cool thing here is I can set it at the bottom of the part, and I can set all my offsets whenever I'm working on the pocket itself. I wouldn't even have to have the part there. But if I don't want that, I can go back to what I had, and then it's back on top. So I'll let you guys kind of make that choice on there. Kind of depends on how I'm going to do it. If I'm going to sneak in on the dimension, I can bring it from the top. But you're still going to need to do X and Y in the pocket, because this outside shape is really going to be hard to just quickly indicate in, because you need to kind of get everything concentric. And if you'll check the pocket, that'll be the place that you want to do your X and Y offsets. So here I was playing with adaptive just a little bit, and I took this 1/2-inch 2-flute end mill, and I just did an adaptive facing on it, just because I was doing some demo stuff today, and I was playing with the adaptive and doing some top cutting with what I would normally face mill with, and I ended up doing it with an end mill. Then I go around the outside of it, and so that actually has a top feature on there already, doesn't it? So if I want to just run in, so this end mill is 1/2-inch end mill 2-flute, and we're cutting aluminum, and RPM's a little high for some of our tooling support, but I think still we can do pretty good stuff with it. So if you notice, this milled the top as it was milling the side. So it did first pass around the outside perimeter of it, then it did a top pass, and now it's going around the outside again. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and take this one out. Really no sense in face milling 2 times. Take that out of there. Since my 1/2-inch tool isn't going to be able to do that, get in all those corners, I got to come back and finish it with tool 9, and that is going to be my 3/8 2-flute finishing end mill. Now, I've got a tool 1 face mill first side, tool 1 face mill adaptive on the outside. Now I have a tool 2 with contour, and so I need to get some things matching up here. Now, if I want to, I could go in and do, probably smartest move would be to go in and look at this one and do some editing on this particular tool right now. Just change the tool number. Let's just go 4 for it. All of these other things are changing along with it. And select that. And okay that. So now I'm 1, 2, 3, 4. We also know that that doesn't always happen like that. We can't always set our tools 1, 2, 3, 4. Sometimes it's 9, 12, 14, 6, and 8. So on this one, I do have the freedom to do that because I don't think I'm going to have any other tools in there. So go change this one to in edit and go to 5 and select it. Okay, so now my 2 setups are set up and ready to go. I can simulate the whole thing. I've looked at it about 1,000 times, so I'm not so concerned about it anymore. Okay, so pretty happy with that. Now, since I've had some computer work done, I want to go back in and I want to look at my post creation, how I'm outputting. Remember, spend some time playing around with some of those posts. So come in here and we're going to go to our post process. Alright, so let's go back here and let's do this. I'm going to go ahead and I just want to run one setup at a time. So here is setup 1, and I want to use the DAW's pre-next gen control. Open the configuration. Alright, now I want to start asking or answering some questions. Looks like it's kept some of the stuff I had in there before. I don't want to preload tools. I don't want sequence numbers. I only want numbers on my tool change. Optional stop, yeah, go ahead and put that in there. I think you're going to be safe to do those things. Show notes, I can either do true or false on that. I can do my home position here. So I've got this nice little description of what's happening behind it. Save starts for all operation, so write an optional block at the beginning of all operations. I'm okay without that. We don't have tool break detection set up for what we're working with right now. On this one, I did not put the holes in it, so I'm not worried about any kind of tapping situations or options. And so I've got a lot of other options through here, and I want you guys to really be willing to jump in and play around with some of these things, because it will make your life run a lot smoother if you can spend the time early on and customize some of these things. If I am looking for a particular thing, like so I don't want a standby tool. So maybe I don't want a standby tool or a ready tool. Something in there saying I want that preload tool is what is called here. And so maybe I don't know what that's called, but I know I don't want to do it. So I'm going to go into here, and I'm just going to type tool, and it's going to find all the word tool. Right tools? Yeah, I do want to do that. So it's just going to keep on finding. So as I'm going to go down, I find preload tool. Okay, well that's exactly what I'm talking about. I don't want to do preload tool. So I can go in, and it's already changed to false, but I could change that if I wanted to. So spend some time in that. And if you would, go ahead and, just so I can see as you're posting stuff out, within the next program or so, if you've already got these done, and this is 5M, so it's pretty, you guys have probably already got this part done by now. I was late getting stuff done just because we had to do some computer work here on my parts, or on my end. So we got computer updated, and that's why it's just late of doing these things. We're trying to make sure that we're all on the same page and version, and so that's why it took some time this week. Okay, so I do want you guys to go in, and I want you to set yours up similar to mine for no preload tool, show sequence numbers false, sequence number on starts at 100, and I think that should probably be it for right now. We'll do some other things with not subroutines, but the way we end our tools using G53 or G28. So just two different options on that. For the HAWs, the G53 works really good, but it doesn't work on all machines. So we just want to make sure that we know both of those things. Okay, so let's see. Close that out. And we can go ahead and post this guy. Okay, so I'm starting at 100, tool 1, M6. I can force M6 and T2. Like on the HAWs, it's not going to have a problem, but some machines, older FANUC controls, are going to have M6 and then T1 afterwards. On most of our machines, it's not really going to matter if we're using that G17 or not for plane selection, but we want to make sure if we are in a plane selection that we were in that one. One thing that we looked at the other day when we were posting out code was how to make it shift into different offsets. Right here we're defaulted to G54. It's a fine one to use, but it's not always the one that we want to use. So if we want to change that, go into Setup 2 and go to Post Process, and if you will change work offset to 1, and then save it, and I usually go ahead and just generate again. And then I'll go in to post my program. That should definitely not be there in comments. Uh-oh. So I'm 54 again. Let's look down. Let's go down to the next tool change. See what's going on here. Yeah, let's go ahead and just find the next one. Okay. I need to get that out of there. I want to get it to change on me. Close that. Go back into Setup 2. Look at Post Process. Alright, let's see what 2 looks like. Maybe 2 changes it. And we'll generate. code. There we are. 55. So 1 is our default at 54. 55 is our next one. Okay. So that's setup 2. That's the more difficult one. Setup 1's pretty straightforward. It's just milling around the outside of it, face milling it off, using some chip thinning, which was just really for fun, and then milling around the outside with the chamfer. And so go ahead and get that one done if you don't already. If you're using Fusion, I'm going to pop this up in Fusion and post another video here in a second, and then I'll walk through this part in Fusion 360. So that should be it for that one. Remember, I extended your submission days to Sunday at 11:59. So there you go.